Hello, my name is Nicole Krylo and today's video is for Earl 244, Early Childhood Profession. This video is for the Family Workshop Project and the home visit. Unfortunately, we were not able to do the home visit due to COVID. However, I have been working closely with a family who has an infant. He was 3 to 4 months over this time that we've been working together, and I have created a couple activities. I completed some research that I shared that information and knowledge with the families just to help them get a better understanding of their child and his development. This is their first child that they had together, so one of the things they really wanted to learn about was the brain and how children develop, as well as what developmentally appropriate practices are. So they actually informed me that by filling out the needs assessment survey, which I have here. And from that, I was able to create a workshop with all of the things listed, including sharing information and knowledge based on their specific needs, both the child and the family. I have open discussions for communication to happen between the family and myself, as well as introducing a few activities that the parents can do with the child at home. This is a great way for them to interact with the child and help his developmental growth, especially when there's not always going to be somebody around. They'll be able to take the information that they learn and apply it themselves to extend his learning. So the first thing that I did was create an agenda. When we spoke over the phone, I actually went over everything with her that we'd be doing. So one of the first things was opening the conversation for any progress that has already been made. So what was really great is she told me that she was using an app that has a calendar where she tracks all developmental growth that the child is supposed to meet at its age. So that was one thing that she's been familiar with. It gave tricks, tips, advice on what to look for, what to do with the child, which is really good. She was able to share with me some information, but she did say that a lot of the times he was ahead of the information that the app was telling her. So that's kind of where, where we decided we'll break down the importance of understanding it, and then also making sure you provide your child with age-appropriate activities. Even though these activities for Brooks were age appropriate, they weren't exactly meeting the developmental levels that he needed, so I was able to offer some challenging activities that she can just tweak, make it a little bit more difficult for him, and really get him to extend that learning. So after that conversation, I had a really good idea of what it is we were looking for to offer during this workshop, and I was able to come to the conclusions of the two topics, which were the child development and the developmentally appropriate practices. So for child development, what we wanted to do was discuss the understanding of the brain, which I explained to her how important it was for the first 12 months of a baby's developmental growth. It is the time that they absorb the most information, and that is what we're going to want to focus on, making sure that we meet those goals. So what I actually did was create a handout that I can give her. This one was Your Baby's Brain and How Parents Can Support Healthy Development. I highlighted some areas that I really wanted her to focus on because it kind of just breaks down understanding how babies' brains work and what you can do to help them. So I shared with her some important information about how the brain is made up of several different areas that control everything we do. And these connections will result and develop extremely fast pace for children 0 to 12 months. So one of the most important things to do are focus on these connections and make sure that Brooks is getting the developmentally appropriate education, learning activities, exercises to really challenge his brain in achieving these goals. So basically, we were just discussing how the baby's brain develops and how the effects of this development will later equal success in his or her life, in this case for Brooks. So the 4 levels that we broke down was you don't want to just focus on mental development, but there is physical, your mental, which is your cognitive, your social and emotional development, and your language and literary skills. So when I started to share this information, she was very overwhelmed and thought, how am I going to be able to meet all of those? Which was really good. I was able to break down the activities, one for each group, just an example for her to start exploring. And I also included resources here for brain boosting activities for your baby. It does list some activities. It has about 1 through 10. It will give you different activities and explain how it helps. I think I got one of my activities from this resource, so I know that it's very trustworthy and credible. And I wanted to make sure that I gave her more so that after this workshop, when we do the one activity together, she would be able to use that as a reference to really get some great ideas on how to continue that. And that goes into the developmentally appropriate practices. We want to make sure that we are meeting the needs of the child and make sure that the information we're providing and the activities aren't easy enough for him to just complete, but have challenging aspects where he can really grow and develop across all levels of development. So we actually included some of the things that you're going to want to expect for your child to do. This is your infant and toddler birth to 3 months. So it really just gives her an idea of what are some of the things you should be looking for, and some of the things you can do to support that. So that's another reference that I provided for her. Now, at this point, the information had been a lot, and we didn't even go into the examples of what we're going to do. So I opened the conversation and asked, does she have any questions for me? She seemed to have a really good understanding of everything I was saying. She wanted to learn a little bit more about the brain connections and how that works. So I provided her with resources at the end where she could read an article exactly about how the developmental stages of a baby work, starting at those fundamental skills and how they essentially grow into skills that will benefit their life later on and work to be educationally successful in education and life. So then what I wanted to do was go into activities. So I introduced 4 activities total that support the cognitive, the social and emotional, the language and literacy, as well as the physical areas of development. So basically I wrote those down, and I will go through each and every one with her so that she can do those at home. The first one was for cognitive skills. Now, one of the things she said that Brooks is really well at is that he responds well to adults. He shows facial expressions as well as laughs and has minor babbling, which we'll get into later. But a great activity to do for this child would be a mirror activity where you'll actually place a mirror in front of the child so Brooks would be able to see himself in this mirror. One thing you can do is maybe put a sticker on his face somewhere and make it obvious and see what his reaction is. If he's already responding to adults, chances are he will start to respond to his own facial expressions or his own appearance and learn about that self-identity aspect as a child as he grows up. So after cognitive, we went into social and emotional. One of the things that she said that he was really good about was responding to the adults. So another thing that I thought was a great way to really build that connection is to play peekaboo. This gives Brooks the opportunity to play and enjoy time with his parents, as well as show that he can react to the expressions that the parents are making. It's a very simple game. There's not too much thought about it. I'm sure she could be doing it all already, but I made sure to point out some of the things you're going to want to look for. How does he react? Does he laugh? Is he babble when you're doing the peekaboo? And I was able to get that feedback. Then we went into language and literacy. That was what I recommended, was reading to her infant. To support the language and literacy aspect, I wanted to ensure that she was not only offering books to the child in the home environment, but was also reading to the children. So you're going to want to make sure that these books are age appropriate. They should be soft felt, where the child can explore and touch and handle the book, since he doesn't quite know how to read yet. What this will do is gain his interest in books and later have him be excited and find reading fun when it comes time to start to learn to read. Another thing to do is to actually sit down and read to your child. Your child won't be able to fully understand what you're saying, but they will start to learn small parts of reading the more and more you guys read together. So one of the books I actually recommended was My First Peekaboo, Animals. And what she'd want to do is go through this and really make sure she makes it fun and exciting. The words are very short, they rhyme, they point out some of the descriptive words, and it's also very fun because you have the peekaboo where you can go ahead and show the child and make it engaging. This is really great for a child that's learning to read because it supports their vocabulary, it supports their print awareness, and having you work together to read a book is really going to encourage him to have a love for books later on down the road. Lastly, what I wanted to do was create a physical aspect to development, which I told her to work on building blocks. This is something she expressed to me that she has, so I wanted to make sure to apply it in a way that is educational for the child. One of the things that he is starting to do is hold on to teething toys. He is grasping. She said sometimes he grabs her shirt, or he'll grab her hair. So one of the things you really want to focus on is that grasp and those fine motor skills. So incorporating blocks into these plays will not only help the child to grab and manipulate, see if they move forward to reach for it, see how they handle it, how they grasp it. Those are going to be all indicators of his development and where he's supposed to be. At this age, of Brooke's age, he should already be grasping stuff, so it's important that she presents him with opportunities to practice those skills. Another great thing too is you can actually put these activities together if you wanted to include blocks that have alphabets on it to promote his alphabet awareness and support that language and literacy skill. And just most importantly, talking to your child. Although you may not seem that he will answer or respond, there are gestures or indicators that the child can do where he looks when someone talks to him, or another thing is when the child babbles back. That's one thing she said. It's only been a little bit of babbling, which is why I really recommended the reading to him. Get him aware with print and get him exposed to it so it becomes something that's so natural in his environment, since kids do learn the most from their environments. So those were just 4 of the activities, and like I said, one of the handouts included some extra activities as well. So the one thing is where baby's toes are. This is really great because the mother can sing to the child. Singing to the child is a great way to promote language, and it not only creates an emotional aspect of it because the parent is engaging and having fun with their child. There is touch feels, which is similar to the books I related, reading activities, and those building blocks. So there's a lot more on here, which is why I gave this to her so she can go through and explore some of the options, and then reference the next one, which was the infant toddler development, birth through 3, and really see what it is she should be looking for. That grasp that I was talking about, she'll want to focus on those motor skills. The infant sensitivity, when she sings to him, notice how he hears it. Does it bother him? Does it make him laugh and happy? That will be indicators of any developmental issues that he might be facing. And then there's vision and communication as well. It also gives you some of the things to promote baby's development, some of the things you can do with it, speaking freely, holding your baby, changing positions, and responding quickly to tears. I really enjoyed working with this family because they were a new family with baby, and they were very, very eager to learn more about the development. I was able to adjust the vocabulary to make it very easy for them to understand. I included several references that they can use so they don't have to remember all of the information that I gave them at first. And I asked a ton of questions to not only make sure they understood it, but also so that I can get a perspective to make sure I'm giving the appropriate information and knowledge to them, and see if there's anywhere I need to adjust or pivot the information that I'm giving to them. So overall, I think it was very successful. I look forward to learning more about Brooks's progression after this project. I will be checking in with them. We usually talk about once a week. This was my first time working closely with this family, and they had all positive feedback to give me, and they were looking forward to applying these activities, learning the information that I gave them from their resources and references, and applying it to the educational practices with their child, Brooks. So I am very eager to see how this works. It was the first time I ever did a family project. So I am excited to see the outcome and check in on his progress and his developmental growth, and also learn more about how he is progressing and offer more tips and tricks to the family to further support it until he goes into the educational system. So that is the end of my family workshop project video. Thank you for watching. Bye.